It's finally happened, an API in Notion that will allow us to integrate and sync automatically Google Calendar and our Notion productivity systems. Today, I'm going to take you through this step-by-step tutorial, and we're going to integrate Google Calendar and Notion using Automate.io. Cool, huh, Pepper? Honestly. Wait, what is it? Hi everyone, welcome back to Better Creating. If you're new here, my name's Simon, this is Pepper, and on this channel, it's all about simplifying creative life. So I make videos about productivity, intentional living, and creating better content. Okay. You may well be aware that a week or so ago, Notion released their API, a milestone for the Notion community, because it really does mean that essentially Notion has published its own language that can communicate with other apps and systems so that everything can be automated, integrated and synced. It works across hundreds of different apps, and at the moment, if you're not a coder like me, you can do that using either Zapier, Automate.io, which I'm going to show you today, and also Integromat, which is quite a cool system which potentially could be the most value for money out of the three, but I think the right balance, right in the middle for me, is Automate.io. Now, if you haven't seen the previous videos on how I've built my productivity system in Notion, go and check out all the other videos of how I've built these sections, and of course a complete tour of the system, which is also available as a download, a full template of this system that you're going to see. Now in this video then, if you are already an owner of that system, I'm going to show you how to integrate Google Calendar into this specific system. If you don't, this is a tutorial to show you the absolute essentials of how to sync up and automate Google Calendar into a Notion database. And we're going to cover the following things. So what we're going to do is adjust the task database that's in my Notion system in order to make it ready to sync with Google. And then I'm going to take you through all the automations you need to essentially keep it automated. So that's going to be number one, adding a new task in Google Calendar and then seeing it pop up in your Notion system. Or if it's deleted, seeing it disappear from your Notion system. Updating a task and seeing it update. And then if a calendar event is ended, if it finishes. And yes, this is a big video, but make sure to hang around to the end because there's how to filter tasks and events in calendar views in your system effectively. And I'm really proud of the final dashboard layout that I've come up with that includes a great schedule view of each day or week filtered from Google. So it should do everything we really need to get started. Let's take a look at my existing system. For those of you that have seen it, this will be super brief, but here you can see my home screen. This is the template that I've made available, and it is a full system, including a content creation page, a knowledge bank where which is essentially like a second brain where you collect information, notebooks, journals, the whole shebang, year planners, practices, so we can kind of manage habits. It's all on the channel, and that's what I love about this system. You can build it. The main thing we're going to look at though, this is my task management system. So you'll see I've got a task inbox, which I can just input tasks into the system, and then a couple of views, and this is how I kind of schedule to-do items. So it's action today, and I've got all the tasks that will come up in the next 7 days. And another way to view that is currently the task calendar. And the task calendar essentially means that I can move things around, click things when they're done, all of that, see a view. Now you'll see to the left of it, I currently have my existing solution for managing my calendar and my schedule. There is a video on this, I'll link it if you want to check it out, because a lot of people may still prefer this system. You'll see here, I can click on that and it will jump to Google Calendar where I can edit everything. And then this is a view of Google Calendar. Now what we're essentially going to do is get all of this to sit within this. And we're going to turn the task database into tasks and events database. Now what's brilliant about this is it means that the calendar will list everything that's happening very specifically across the whole system. If it suits you, it could be a brilliant solution. I'm going to go into my main task database. This is where all the programming is. You can see everything there. Now, there's a couple of things that we're going to need to add to this. If you do want to build this, do check out the other videos. What we're going to do is add a couple of things. Now, we know that we have currently a kind of due. This is when a task is due. I'm actually now going to call that date. Now, the reason I'm going to call it that is because it will both hold the start date and the end date. So it will mean that things will last a certain period of time across the calendar, and it'll also sync effectively with Google Calendar. We're going to add a new column over here, description. And this will mean that any description in the Google Calendar event will sit in there. That's going to be good. I'm then going to add something to filter when I want to filter those dashboard views between either seeing all the tasks, all the scheduled events in a calendar, or both. And in order to do that, I'm just going to create a simple checkbox, and I'm going to call that calendar event. Done. So what we want to happen there basically is any calendar event, I will set the automation to tick that as true, and it just gives us a filter for that. Now, the next thing I want to look at is I have this thing called daily priority. Now, I just use daily priority to essentially list kind of where I want things to sit in terms of when they get done. So I've got kind of quick first tasked, the one thing, the main thing I always get done, and then so on and so forth. And just in here, I'm just going to list a new thing, which is going to be called scheduled. So that can then either be a kind of period of work, or it could be an event, but it just means it's specific to a time. So we've got afternoon, the one thing, morning, or scheduled. We know that's always what it is. So let's put that in. So we will also filter that when we finish with it. There are two further additional things you might want to add if you're interested in it. And that's to kind of make the most out of basically the information that Google Calendar often can provide. I'm going to add into this section meeting URL. So you can change the property to URL. So, you know, if you've got a meeting in your calendar that has a Zoom link in it, it would turn up here, so you could click straight on it. And often you have a location you need to be when you insert an event into your calendar. So I'm going to also add location. And of course, you would be welcome to go and look at your Google Calendar and think about any of the kind of elements that are there that you might want to put into the system. Great, so it's all ready to go in Notion. Now we can get on and generate the automations. So first of all, we want to go to Automate.io and set up an account if you don't have one. Let's just presume that you do, but quickly, let me just show you the pricing. You'll see here, 5 bots, 300 monthly actions. Now that's a really good bet for this, because what it essentially means is I'm going to only use 3 or 4 to run basically the delete, the add, the update. So that would cover that, but also 300 actions, basically 300 bits of information changed in Google and sent over to Notion. So that could work really well if you wanted to just try this out for free. And you can see here, I think this would be plenty to get going. But again, check out Integromat. It could be a really good alternative with lots of actions. Now, if I go to my bots, I have set up 3 of the bots when I was testing this out. The way this works is, first of all, you go to apps and you're going to need to essentially add an app. You can see here, it's pretty simple. You're just going to click on the app and log in to your account on each one. So in this case, you're going to need to log into Google Calendar and you're going to log into Notion, find your system. And the other thing you're going to need to do is make it possible for Automate.io to communicate with your Notion system. And a simple way to go ahead and do that is essentially to agree that you would share all of your private pages. I'm okay with that personally, you have to make the choices, but I just clicked all of your private pages, you can share all of those, and then very simply, you are good to go. Once you've connected these, you should see your apps are ready to go. You can go to bots, and you can create a new bot. So the first one we're going to do is a new event. So let's click on it. Basically, it needs to be, if this happens, make this next thing happen. So in Google Calendar, that's going to be the place we start from. If an event is added, I'm going to click my calendar and find it, my weekly schedule, and I'm going to select an action. It's going to affect Notion. So we click on Notion, add a database item in Notion. We click on that. We're going to select the database. If you don't see the database turn up here, you need to basically invite Automate.io like you would invite anyone to share a page in Notion. If I go to my task list, I'm going to click share. And what you'll see here is it says Automate.io currently has permission to edit like a person. So all you would really do to do this is click on invite, you'd see Automate.io turn up because you've already connected it, and you would click that automation. Let's go back to Automate.io, and there you should see it turn up. This is my tasks database. And then here, click on the little arrow and pick the corresponding item in the Google Calendar that then would line up with the Notion database that you have set up. Now, because we added a series of things, we've got all of these, right? You've got meeting URL link, calendar event, all those things that we put in. The start date would be the event begins, you just drag it across. End date would be event ends. Description, event description. Done, we're gonna leave blank. Basically anything that is left blank just won't update. Meeting URL link, they are, event meeting URL, drop it in. Calendar event, I wanna say yes. Everything will be a calendar event coming from here, and this is how we can then sort everything. Location, event location, drop that in. Good, and daily priority, I want to set that to scheduled as we discussed. You've got task. Now we might want to call this, this in our database task or event. We could update the name of that. That's going to be event summary. So that is the title of any item that's in that Notion database is going to be the summary. Easy. You're then going to save it, turn the bot on, and then it says you need to test it. So basically open Google Calendar, add an event, test it out. So let's open Google Calendar. I'm going to put something in below here and I'm going to call this location as example, London, and I'm going to say, here's some description, little example, save the event. We then go back to Automate.io and click I'm done. Now, this is the test. Will it work? Great, your bot is all good. That's what we want to see. Let's go back to Notion and to my home screen. Great, and there it is. It's turned up in my inbox. Now, at the moment, it's not gone into the rest of the system purely because this filters by a task being related to a project, but I'll deal with that a little bit later when we clean things up. If you're finding this valuable, hit that like button. Now to add the next bot, which will automate anything that's deleted disappearing from the system. Let's do it. So we're going to go to the bot list and we've got that added. We're now going to add a new bot. So create a bot, and we follow the same process. So Google Calendar. This time I want to go event deleted, trigger when an event is deleted. We're going to select the calendar, go across, select Notion, and here I want it to be that we update a database item. It doesn't offer delete one, but that's not how we're going to get rid of it. My system works on the basis that when something is clicked done, it disappears from the dashboard. So what we need to do is basically when an event is deleted from Google Calendar, I want it to update as done on my Notion system. Simple. So we're going to click Update Database. We're going to click the database, find our tasks, and then we want to, rather than go on page ID, because that's actually really hard to find, because it needs to work for whichever thing is there, we want to go on title. So we're going to click on title, and I want to match the title of the item to the event summary, because if you recall, it's currently linking task and event summary. So if we just put it as event summary, it'll work. Then all I want to change is that done becomes true, as in done is ticked. Click save, and you're going to do the same process of testing it. Going back to the test event that we made and deleting it. Let's go back to Automate.io, click I'm done, wait for it to come back to us, and it should. Success. The bot is all good. Let's go back to Notion and double check it. And we should see it has disappeared from the task list. Fantastic. Right, let's now move on to what happens if we modify an event. So in order to do this, I quickly want to add a new event to Google Calendar, just so we have one in there. Great, there it is, test event original, it's updated in the system, and you'll see here on date, let me just quickly show you what I mean about it updating both the start date and the end date. So that will be really useful when we want to see it in things like Gantt charts, if you want to work those into your system. So starting again, create a new bot, Google Calendar, all the same stuff again, but this time we want to do event modified calendar. So we're going to click same calendar, that's all there. This time, again, Notion, select your database, and here we want to, again, update a database item. Select our database. Now with this one, we want all the information to update. Now, first of all, we have to select the target, just as we did on the deleted item, and that is going to be event summary again. We're working with that. Now, this system, frustratingly, is if you change the title of the event summary, it won't update. It's the only thing that doesn't work. So it's better to delete it and then put a new one in if you do want to change the event title. Beyond that, everything else will update. So let's now just put in all of the information just as we did before. So event begins, start date, and so on. Calendar event, yeah. Save it, turn the bot on. Now we're going to test it. Now to test it, all we want to do really is go into test event original. Now of course, it doesn't update the original, but what we can do is add a location and let's change the time. Automate IO, check it again. Same process, congratulations, let's go back to Notion. It has changed the time and the date. And of course, if we click on the event, we have new description written in there. The next thing I want to look at is how you update the database if an event is finished. So if the end time is passed, how you would update it in your system. A couple of ways you could do it. You could leave it and just click it as done, because some people like to have that hands-on experience. I could do the same thing I did for deleted if the event ends and click it as done so that that's passed on. But I don't know if that's as useful. So I wonder if what we might do is have a system where we add an extra column which says whether it is currently live or has passed. So then it just means that you can look at stuff again in a view, in a dashboard view, a filtered view if you want to, but it can also be clearing it from the system if you don't. So within the tasks system, let's go in, and we're going to add one more down here, which is going to be a checkbox, event ended. That means we can then filter the other views using that checkbox. Now this is an exact copy of what we did when an event was deleted, but we're just going to use event ended. I'll show you that really quickly, but it should be pretty obvious. Add a new bot. It's when an event ends. Calendar, weekly schedule, select an app, Notion, update a database item, event summary. When the event ends, I therefore want to click that event ended is true. Simple as that. Now I think this is the most elegant way to do it because it means that you can have a view where everything stays, but you could also have where everything that's passed disappears. Turn the bot on. So what we'll do is I'll create an event that just ends at 6 o'clock so I can double check that it works in a moment. All the basic programming is now done, but what we don't have is a way to view it. So I now need to update all the filters that I've built within this system. If you own the template, this should show you how to update it yourself. As you can see, what is happening is that my events are turning up in the task inbox and not turning up over here. So the first thing we need to do is filter stuff out of the inbox if it's an event, and also filter stuff to appear in the action today and action in the next 7 days views. Now, the way we're going to do that is I'm going to first of all click on action today. I'm going to go to filter. It filters where related is not empty. So that basically means it only shows stuff which has got a related project, and the task box will only show stuff that doesn't have a related project. So I want to then add a filter which says that, or where calendar event is true. And that then means you'll see that my events move down into this space. All the scheduled events will still turn up in the right place, regardless of whether they have been linked to a related task, and that's not automatically happening. So that solves that problem. I also want to go over here then. See, we have a normal task that hasn't been allocated to a project, and we have a calendar event. Now, in order to filter this, there's a couple of things we could do. We're going to add an additional filter. You could do it so it's where daily priority is not scheduled, and then that would mean that because everything is being put through as scheduled, it would disappear. Or you could equally do calendar event is not checked. Good, so we've cleared the task inbox of stuff and we can see that events are turning up where they need to be. That's one for tomorrow in the next few days. First of all, we want to look at how we can view the actual calendar. So I can add a view here. I'm actually gonna adjust this tasks database to be called tasks and events. This is my task calendar. So we're just now gonna call this action calendar because it's everything. There you go, I've called it that. Now the next thing we're going to do is we want to see some views. So I'm going to add a view, calendar, create. Now we're going to make this view events calendar. We're going to make the previous view task calendar. And then we could add one final view, which is all action. So obviously you can do what you like with this. So I'm going to first of all go to task calendar, and we just want to filter this simply where done is not ticked, plus add filter and where calendar event is not ticked. Then we're going to go to the event calendar, and that one is slightly different, where we want to filter, add a filter, where first of all, where done is not ticked, and where calendar event is ticked. And there they are, test event for today, test event for tomorrow. And of course, you can set this up to show whatever information you want. Things, location, meeting URL. I want to see the date. I think that's useful because it gives you the times. The final filter we might want to do of this is call it live calendar events, and it would disappear. But for this one, I don't think that's a big deal. I think that's kind of looking really good. And then in all actions calendar, you'll just literally see everything. And so again here, we can go to properties and just update this to look pretty much exactly the same as we want the task calendar to look. And of course you want to add some filters where first of all done is not checked. And I'd also suggest you put where event ended is not checked, so that anything will disappear when it's finished. Also clears it if you wanted to do that, or you can just click that it's done. So finally, I've spent a little bit of time cleaning up my dashboard to make it work with this integration properly. And this is what I've come up with. I've basically taken what we did around scheduled events and created a scheduled today section. So it takes the tasks and events, filters it to only calendar items, as we did. And I've just kind of sorted the properties that you can see to just be those things. So I've done a little formula here which takes the time and turns it into just the time rather than the time and the date. So you can see that that's simply going format date, proposing the date, and then you just put LT, and that will give you that specific time that it starts. Nice and simple. You could of course just show the date property if you wanted, but I thought that was quite a clean way to show everything by time on the page, which is cool, and then you can click into it to see more information. And obviously anything that's come from Google Calendar will be listed there. I've also kept related projects so that if I want to in here, I can just simply relate the scheduled action to, let's say, freelance development, so that it's just linked into a project and I know what the meeting is relating to. Nice and simple. That just sits above my action today, but I filtered this to make sure that none of the scheduled events turned up within there, so you can just see them in a nice clean view. So that's the today view. In my weekly planner, I've adapted it slightly. So my calendar, I've chosen to use the view of absolutely everything. So you can see here, scheduled events turn up along with actions, and it means that I know that the scheduled events are things I shouldn't move in here. I should do that in Google Calendar, but I can move everything else within here. And then of course, I've got over here a schedule for the week, which is the same as the one above. I've also added a little weekday formula. That's really simple. It just says format the day as DDD, small DDD. You can copy that if you wanted to do that, and it would just tell me the day that it turns up and the time that it's happening. So that's a nice clean way to do it. So that gives me a nice schedule for the week. And then below that, I've just moved down what was up here to action this week. And this is just, again, filtered by tasks. So what I think is great about this is you have a today view of events that are scheduled coming up and actions to take. You have a week view of events coming up and actions to take. And finally, a full calendar view of absolutely everything so that you can manage it. And I've kept this little button here, which is Edit Now in Google Calendar. I might even move that across to here. You could even copy it, duplicate that, so that I have that available to me. That feels like the cleanest way to do it at the moment. You can, of course, set up automations to go back the other way, something to look at in the future using something like Automate.io. Hopefully, those of you that have downloaded this could now make these adjustments. So this API is opening up a whole world of joy in the Notion system, and as we go and as it develops, I'll be releasing more content around how to use it and developing this system that we've been building across previous videos. Check out the Simplifying Productivity playlist for more stuff on how I built all of this stuff if you want to see more of it and you can build your own. And of course, consider downloading the template. But whatever happens, I'd love it if you left some comments. It would be awesome if you liked this video and supported the channel. It goes a long way. And it would be even more cool if you subscribed. I'll see you in the next video. Get automating. Bye.